an official Secret Sacred Wars crossover. It's Sanctuary of Reality, my comic review series. Before we begin with our regularly scheduled issue, first we take a sidestep to a short story that takes place just about here. It's from ARG number 1, Artists Against Rampant Government Homophobia. It's titled An Untold Tale of the Secret Sacred Wars. Returning from their perversion patrol, Drew Roach and Fleagle Roach report to Sacred Wars Roach. Drew Roach describes in great detail what they saw: a man having sexual relations with a young boy. What will be Sacred Wars Roach's reaction? This story isn't available in the phone books, but you can check it out for free over at the great Margaret Liss's website, cerebusfangirl.com. Or you can also check it out also for free at the great A Moment of Cerebus website, blog, which recently posted it. So it's only about 4 pages, so it's pretty quick to read. But you should probably check it out for yourself, since it's not available anywhere but in that ARG number 1, which is supposedly pretty hard to find. I should point out that this story was published a few years after the issues in which it takes place, hence it being an untold tale. I'm looking at it here when it takes place chronologically, and it actually works well enough here. I mean, it doesn't spoil too much of the Secret Sacred Wars aspect of that the next issue introduces. Sort of a teaser, a prologue, if you will, to the rest of what's about to happen, what you're about to see. So it doesn't give away too much. It's not really important whatsoever, but it's just a little nugget of a story. This isn't the first time we've had implications of the Roach's blatant bisexuality. Remember the first time he met the McGrews? I don't recall it ever being touched upon again after this. Truthfully, he'd probably be better off romantically involved with a guy, considering all the trouble women give him, like Astoria and the Countess. Well, the Countess really didn't give him any trouble, but Astoria definitely does. And she's not going to be the last. Let's just say that. So, today begins phone book number 4. Church and State Volume 2. If you'd like to pick this up, it is currently out of print. However, you can get some used copies from a few places online. You know the usual places: eBay, Amazon Marketplace, those kinds of places. If you're patient enough, it should be getting reprinted in completely remastered format next year, which is 2016. Maybe you're watching this in 2016. You're like, hey, that's like the past. And so you want to get it then. So, but right now there's actually going to be a Kickstarter for funding the remastering and the restoration process. It should be live any day now. Keep an eye for it over at A Moment of Cerebus, which is still one of the best news sites around for all your Cerebus needs. I can't believe I haven't mentioned A Moment of Cerebus much lately. Ever. I don't think this is the first time I mention it. I shouldn't. I mean, that's a great site. I visit it every day, multiple times a day even. So yeah. Until then, or in lieu of the printed copy, let's say you don't like having this thick book around. You just want it all on your computer. There's of course the official download at cerebusdownloads.com, an excellent site for all your digital Cerebus needs. There was no bi-weekly reprint for this series, so I'll just be reading from the stinky old single issues. Well, not there. Yeah, those. Which are pretty easy to find, and they're actually very affordable. So today we look at Church and State Chapter 30, the start of Subbook 4, titled The Sacred Wars, in Cerebus issue 81, becoming synonymous with something indescribable. Cerebus lies unconscious in the lower city of East, having been thrown there by Thrunk. He soon awakens to find Sacred Wars Roach before him, recruiting him to join in the secret Sacred Wars, which he's unable to tell him anything about. As they head to his hideout, Cerebus asks how he got rid of Claremont. This allows the astral spirit of Professor Charles X. Claremont to briefly appear, warning Cerebus of the end of the world, before the Roach is able to stifle him again. Sacred Wars Roach is assisted by Dirty Drew and Fleagle McGrew, also wearing Roach costumes and identities. They take their roles very seriously, speaking in lengthy and extremely wordy and often redundant exposition. It appears that the Roach has absorbed the omniscient powers of Claremont and now knows about the final ascension and the various factors at play in the Pope situation. Overwhelmed by it all, Sacred Wars Roach beats up Drew Roach and Fleagle Roach in an attempt to build character through conflict. When he tries to strike Cerebus, the Aardvark tosses him aside easily, knocking him unconscious. The McGrew Roaches, thinking Cerebus to be Dirkass, the anti-Roach, copy his every movement. He proceeds to get drunk, prompting them to do the same. When the Sacred Wars Roach reveals that they're drinking amber frostonite, which robs him of his powers, how will the oft-abused McGrew Roaches react? Sacred Wars Roach is a parody of the Secret Wars Spider-Man, with his brand new black costume and all. In a few issues, he'll slowly evolve into a parody of the Dark Knight Returns Batman, and it'll be really hard to pin down what's from what pretty soon. It kind of gets muddled as we go along, as it sort of evolves. So it's a little different the way it's done here. Instead of just being all about one particular character, becomes something far removed, far more engrossing. Or should I say encroaching? Yeah, no, I won't say that. Roach's superhero parody aspects get cranked up to 11 here. Both he and the McGrews are really hitting hard on the cliches and tropes associated with the big crossover books of the mid-'80s, namely Secret Wars and Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you somehow aren't familiar with these style of event books, you may not really get why the McGrews say so much when speaking. But needless to say, it's a dead-on impression of how they cram so much into the mouths of characters in these books. I do suppose it could be a bit of a chore to read their dialogue as a result, what with the lack of spaces between the words, plus their southern accents spelled out. But I find it to be a fun challenge. This is a really fun issue thanks to the superhero parodies. Despite Cerebus being quite passive for most of the issue, we learn a great deal about things important to his past, his present, and his future. Well, maybe not his past so much. Thanks to Roach's omniscient revelations. The mention of the priestess, magician, queen, king, and pope calls back to the Pope Harmony IV discussion with Cerebus in the early part of the storyline. The first mention of the Ascension is very notable as well. Roach is finally made into a major player in this particular section of the story, and this sets things up very nicely for later. Next time, a trip inside the big ground glowing white strange thing.